Hello, I'm Interweb Studios and today we ask Reddit what are some of your interesting roommate stories. I personally had an awful roommate story, and if this video gets 25 likes, I will make a separate video for that story because it is a dang saga. With that, sit back and enjoy. I taught a roommate how to boil water. Iced tea was the first thing, other than sandwiches and salads, that she had ever made. Not a roommate, but a friend of mine, had to be taught how to use a washer and dryer, and how to use the stove. She was extremely competent and seemed like she was going to win the adulting game, so I was super confused. Turned out her mother had some pretty bad anxiety and couldn't handle anyone doing anything, because they might do it differently. The result was her and her siblings being some of the neatest people I know, always putting everything back exactly how it should be immediately, but didn't know how to actually do anything in the house that was beyond the broom and mop, even though they were well adjusted otherwise. It was such an inverse from my own childhood, where I had been left home alone with a small child and expected to figure most of it out as I went, that I struggled to grasp it. I just kept asking, "You don't know how to X?" I'm sure it was super annoying, and she was very gracious about it. I'm pretty sure I used to live with a hobbit. Man about 5 feet 1 inch, curly brown hair, constantly cheerful demeanor. Never wore shoes, inside or out. Literally slept on the floor in what can only be explained as a nest of blankets. Started a garden and encouraged me to eat his tomatoes all the time. Would bring home samosas and other goodies, always giving me half just because. He and his wife had a dream of living off the grid in a tiny home on a truck. I hope he's doing well. We met when we showed up for dorm room assignments our freshman year of college. Almost 50 years later, we're still the closest of friends. I recently attended his daughter's wedding. A grand affair, because he happens to be uber wealthy. At one point I found myself choking up, and it wasn't for the bride and groom, it was for John and me. How far we've come from that first awkward handshake a half-century ago. My roommate once created a whole new life form by leaving beans in the fridge until they molded so bad they became pure white. Then she got mad when I threw it away because she was going to use it later. Sounds like she needs some outside help. Or inside help. I had a roommate do that with lasagna in a casserole dish. I eventually tossed it after lifting the lid and looking inside. I didn't want to touch it and I knew she'd never clean it, so I threw the whole thing in the dumpster, dish and all. When she got home and saw it was gone, she told me I might as well throw her lifeless body in the dumpster too, if that's how little I thought of her, implying she'd kill herself over it. I was like, "I'll buy you a new casserole dish, damn." Neither of us did what we'd said we'd do. My roommate in college claimed he was involved with the mafia. He was constantly sweaty, was very jumpy, and always had a lot of cash in his car. He never was around on the weekends, and I never saw him drink. Strangest of all, is that he never once slept in his room. He was always on the couch by the door. He eventually told me that it was because if someone ever broke in looking for him, he wanted them to find him right away, so no one else would get hurt. I still don't know if he was telling the truth, but nonetheless I always locked my bedroom door at night. Oddly sweet of him. Yeah, a total bro move. In the sense of I got you if shit happens, but the only reason why shit happened was because of me, type of bro. I used to live with 2 strippers. Needless to say, they weren't early risers. One Sunday morning, we get a knock at the front door. Jehovah's Witnesses. So, Kay goes to the door, and invites them in for coffee. While butt naked. Kay is pretty, impressive naked. Built like China in her prime, lots of tattoos and piercings. Needless to say, they left, quickly. And we never had missionaries at our door again. Would be funnier if you had more missionaries show up every day. Then they'd go back and the head missionary would be like, "Wow, you guys are working so hard lately. I'm impressed with the hours you're putting in on your mission." Then they'd be like, "Just spreading the gospel, man. Can't get enough of that gospel." There are plenty, but one of my roommates used to sleepwalk and sleep talk almost every night, and I was the only one who'd be awake whenever it would happen. I'd witness her cleaning our fridge, sealing our opened bag of chips, and I'd hear her quote Shakespeare in her sleep. What made her go back to bed was me asking her to sleep, and she'd look at me and close her eyes. Whenever I asked her if she recalled any of it, the answer was always no. I had a roommate that became very susceptible to suggestions when he would first fall asleep, and wouldn't remember anything he did the next morning. One time, we woke him up and told him that his girlfriend had stolen his shoes. He jumped out of bed, went to the landline phone. Yeah, I was in college 20 years ago, called up his girlfriend and accused her of stealing his shoes. We were all dying laughing at this time. She blew him off, and after he hung up, he went into the kitchen. When he came back, he was holding 2 brownies, and had the saddest look on his face. Look, my girlfriend burned up my shoes. I'll never be able to wear them again. He placed them next to his bed, and then went back to sleep. When he skipped out on rent, and moved while I was at work, he left behind some of the most interesting porn I've seen. He was into amputees and urine. He also vomited on the carpet, never cleaned it up, and it ate through. I didn't get my deposit back. Was your roommate Brundlefly? My freshman year college roommate was a random pairing. This kid partied all night and slept all day. Legit wouldn't wake up until 5 p.m. He goes MIA for like a week. I call my mom because I'm not sure he's even alive. She searches to see if he has been arrested. Before she can call me back, the cops are knocking at our door and ask, "Have you seen?" And I say no. Mom calls me back a few minutes later. He had been booked for robbery at a convenience store which was in our dorm building. He tried to hide in an air vent. He made the front page of the campus newspaper, was expelled, and I got the whole dorm to myself for the rest of the fall and spring semester. Mine's not quite as dramatic, but also college freshman with random roommate. She was hardly around, usually out partying and staying in friends' rooms. One Monday morning, I think around Halloween, she left a police report lying on the middle of the floor that detailed her underage drunk and disorderly arrest. With it was a letter from the school mandating that she attend what amounted to responsibility classes and write an essay on why underage drinking and causing a scene was bad. She was gone that whole day but showed up around 11 p.m. Threw some stuff in a duffel, said I could take anything of hers if I wanted it, and left. At the end of the week, someone high up in the school called me to ask if I had seen her. I detailed the last time I saw her. He asked why I didn't report her missing. Because we weren't friends, she left of her own accord, and that was the end of the convo. I eventually found out through the grapevine that she had run away to California. School was in PA to stay with her brother, and neither she nor her brother told their parents she was out there. Had the room to myself the rest of the year. I piled all of her stuff in a corner, enjoyed the extra space, and sat through a very awkward, completely silent 15 minutes when she and her mother showed up on move-out day to collect her belongings. I spent over a year falling asleep to the angry, muffled, whisper but not really arguments between my roomie and his girlfriend. Just muffled enough that I couldn't understand what the problem was, but they were clearly not happy together. So I'd just lie in bed wondering, what's my duty of care here? Like they weren't violent with each other, and it wasn't like one person was terrorizing the other. It was just 2 young people in a consensual and mutual spiral of despair. My South Korean roommate in college played StarCraft, too? Not sure, well into the night. We're talking like I'd be getting up to go to class and he'd be logging off. It cured my insomnia. Listening to a game in a language I didn't understand was very soothing, apparently, and I went from taking 3-4 hours a night to fall asleep to falling asleep within 30 seconds of laying my head down. It's weird how sometimes you find something that just works. First college roommate rarely did laundry and would borrow my underwear especially for dates and return them dirty, unwashed. I told him in unequivocal terms to keep his hands off my junk, but he'd borrow whatever he needed anyway. That is a hard nope. I almost beat a roommate's ass after finding out he was wearing boots of mine. Motherducker went home barefoot. Wait, you seriously want me to take them off right now? They're coming off your feet in less than 2 minutes. Depends if you're conscious or unconscious. Guy's feet reeked too, and they were $120 combat boots. Came home from my first day of classes to poop everywhere. Toilet seat, tile, bath mat, toilet paper holder, sink, carpet. Had a long discussion. Not acceptable. Happened again, took 6 weeks to get her out. What was her rationale for it? Was she super sick and couldn't get to the toilet in time? And then decided not to clean it up? I think she had IBS, but it was just alarming because it happened multiple times. Nah, I've got IBS and that's not a thing that happens. My other roommate had it too and I can confirm, she never did this either. Sounds like drug abuse to be honest. Edit. I have taken a lot of different kinds of drugs and helped many of friends to a toilet. Just because you anecdotally haven't had a bad experience doesn't mean my several anecdotes of taking mates to emergency portaloos after ket and alcohol abuse isn't legit either. Freshman year of college, I was randomly assigned a roommate to share a tiny room, 11 feet by 15 feet, I think. I was a quiet comp-sci student from the San Francisco area who liked video games and D&D. My assigned roommate was a huge mechanical engineering major from the South who liked his lifted truck, dipped tobacco, and getting drunk as often as possible. Needless to say, the next 6 months were not fun. He left his spit cups everywhere, constantly played loud country music, and messed around with my stuff including scratching a nasty slur into my Office Space-esque stapler. As the year went on he seemed to get worse, probably due to finding a group of like-minded people in the dorms. Long story short, he was kicked out of the dorms about 2 weeks before the spring break. He and another guy went on a rampage through the dorm with airsoft guns shooting the little whiteboard on everyone's door. For some reason, though, he was allowed to stay until the break. I stupidly left for home before he did, and when I got back my very nice gaming PC was missing. I reported it missing, and told the police exactly where I thought it was at his new place. They apparently searched it, and though they didn't find my computer, they found enough other stolen goods to get him expelled from school. Thankfully, my replacement roommate was a very nice, quiet guy. And the rest of the year went well. I once had a roommate for about 5 years who was literally not figuratively a ducking genius and also an insanely good person. She built a 3D printer from scratch in our living room before 3D printers were a thing anyone could purchase, and she did it just for lols. She also built a Hackintosh for me because I needed more bandwidth, space, whatever, than what Apple, Inc. offered at the time and still more than what Apple, Inc. offers today. She also made traditional bagels from scratch at least once per quarter in our kitchen, and the best mother ducking cheesecake I have ever tasted in my whole entire life. She is a unicorn, and we are still the best of friends, though we no longer live together. I have absolutely no regrets. If people still exchanged friendship bracelets or rings, the gems I would put on hers could be captured photogenically via satellites from deep space. This Earth, universe etc. doesn't deserve her. Not sure what dimension does, honestly. I am just proud to call her friend. What do I bring to our friendship? Not enough. That's for sure. First and foremost, upon our first meeting, I was honest and kind. It is amazing how often people discount and write off people because they don't fit an archetype. My dearest friend, the genius who is also an amazing baker, is one of the kindest people I have ever met. We are both word game nuts and I kick her ass in word games quite often. I have also helped her via my areas of expertise and we make each other laugh uproariously. We've been friends for about 15 years. Friends are the family you make for yourself, so choose wisely and with an open heart. Assume nothing about the people you meet. Instead, be patient and kind and you will eventually learn everything that truly matters about a person and also yourself. I think being kind is the easiest thing I have ever done. Even when it is the last thing I want to do in a moment. Kindness lasts longer than any of my other impulses, feelings, emotions. I wonder why. I had a college roommate who was obsessed with CSI. She had a CSI pillow and sheets, blankets. She refused to turn on any lights and kept all blinds shut. She hated light and would sigh loudly if I would turn the lights on to do anything. I went to college right around when you needed a college email to make a Facebook, and she would tell me that Facebook is how they spy on you. She said she would never have a MySpace or anything of the like. She might have been right on that one, and she would always say I was a sheep and that I would have my identity stolen by them. My other roommate, we were 4 with 2 bedrooms and a common area, was extremely loud at all hours, and if you ever asked her to keep it down, even very politely, she would purposely start doing cartwheels and banging on things and singing. She claimed to be Jay Leno's niece. One more, I had a roommate that slept with a new guy every weekend and we could hear her loudly through the wall. We would tell her we heard her and she vehemently denied every time that she slept with anyone. Come on, girl. I had a couple as roommates and she was well. Saying she was loud was an understatement. It's not like hearing them through the wall. You could hear her outside the damn apartment. It got annoying quick. I had a roommate like that. He was constantly slamming cabinets and even the refrigerator door. He would blast the TV at night at ear-splitting levels, but yet if I asked him to turn it down, he would say he was hard of hearing. I get that, but it's like get your hearing checked. No one should have to deal with that, or worse yet, try to sleep through it. I feel sorry for people who have hearing loss, but it's their issue to deal with. They shouldn't expect everyone else to suffer. With that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, do not forget to like, subscribe, and comment any of your interesting roommate stories. Don't forget, if this video gets 25 likes, I will share my personal roommate story. Until next time.